Right now, we're going to hear from someone from Denmark's third largest city. It's called Odense, and it's spelled O-D-E-N-S-A. If you look at it on the map, it's called Odense. But it has a very rich history of Vikings, palaces, and fairy tales. So perfect for this audience, correct? Our next speaker will tell you more about the transformation of his capital from a traditional industrial town to what it is today. Please help me welcome to the stage Peter Rahbæk Juel. He's the mayor of Odense to our stage. Thank you very much for joining us. How do you do?
Thank you.
How do you do?
Pretty good? Doing well. Yeah, you. Thank you. What would you say if I told you that the next technological revolution is already a reality? Where, you might ask? Well, it's happening in a small country far, far away, in a city that is so obscure that no one even can pronounce the names except for the locals. So just so you get a chance to get it right, the city is called Odense. And I'm its proud mayor, Peter Rahbæk Juel. And now you also learned a little bit Danish. And what would you think if the city were willing to share all its secrets to its success? Would you think that naive? I'm here today to share, to sow seeds for inspiration, and to tell you it is possible to turn things around, even for a city stuck in a negative spiral. So where did we start out, and where are we today? The city of Odense has a more than 1,000 years old history and dates back from the Vikings. And as the third largest city in Denmark, we are in the middle of the country. As Vikings, we built boats to conquer the world. In the industrial era in Odense, it was still ships, steel ships. We had one of the world's leading steel shipyards up to a decade ago. But the shipbuilding era ended, and the city, old shipyard, closed down and left thousands of people unemployed. The whole city was gridlocked in a severe crisis. We need to turn things around. We needed to think differently. Over the last 10 years, we have done just that. We fundamentally transformed the city, both the physical city shape and our general outlook, and we turned a broken city into a booming success. The work that we do as a city is all about collaboration instead of competition. This thinking is mirrored in the technological revolution that we are experiencing at the moment. We don't create robots to replace workers, but cobots that collaborate with human beings. So what is a cobot? Cobots are extremely flexible, highly adaptable to new functions, and they support workers. In effect, they serve as a third arm that takes care of heavy lifting, repetitive and monotonous procedures that normally wear workforce down physically. In a sense, the cobots are a new type of futuristic colleagues. If you know how to operate a smartphone, you have the knowledge required to operate a cobot. Cobots are meant to serve humans, to increase the value of each worker, and to ensure that there are jobs for workers in the future. Today, Odense is ranked as the Global Cobot Capital, and we are right at the center of the next technological revolution. With cobots, we have man and machine working together side by side, improving the conditions and well-being of production workers. Cobots are changing the way we use technology in our everyday lives. Today, Odense is home to a leading robotics cluster. housing everything from startups to trailblazing companies, attracting international investments around $1 billion over the last 4 years alone. Today, there are 132 companies in the robotics cluster, and the sector in Odense is employing more than 3,400 people. And our university students, they just won the Super Bowl of robotics, so they're quite talented. And I even experienced last year that some other countries are also doing things with our cobots. I visited the Netherlands, and if you have visited the Netherlands, they are very fine people, liberal people with good experimenting thoughts. So after a hard day's work, I went to a bar with a Dutch colleague and experienced that it was a cobot from Odense serving me a drink. So our cobot is everywhere. So now, let's get back on track. In the robotics cluster in Odense, it's not about creating monopolies, pushing competition out, and it's not about who can produce the most. It's about close and daily collaboration, developing new tech products and systems that support workers. Each worker will be more productive, safer, and have a healthier work environment. The aim is to empower workers and make them much more competitive in the global labor market, short and long term. Cobots won't take your job. They will make your job better. And they might even serve you drinks on a Friday night, at least in the Netherlands. One of the elements in our success in Odense is that the city sees itself as one company. Keywords are cooperation, trust, and talent. Let me give you an example. In an industry where the shortage of qualified labor is the biggest challenge, companies attract specialists from all areas of the tech sector. If a talented applicant has a special profile that matches one of the companies in the cluster, the application is forwarded to the relevant companies. That's good for businesses and for the ecosystem. Applicants are not applying for a job in a single company. They are applying for a career in the city of Odense. In Odense, the key is establishing a strong ecosystem, research institution, venture capital, technological know-how, innovative thinkers, support and investment from the local government, education programs, coordinated efforts, starting in local kindergartens, including the local business communities, and upgrading and preparing the labor force. The ecosystem is based on trust and mutual support between the private sector and the public sector and the research and education institutions. Cobots are all about open source thinking, sharing knowledge and technologies, creating positive change in the community. The recipe for success is identify the technologies with most potential and be willing to take risks. Create a strong ecosystem, attract companies and international specialists from across the world, and the most important ingredient is mutual trust. This approach is not exclusive to the robot sector. We have identified a handful of disruptive new technologies, medical cannabis disrupting the opioid market, and drones disrupting a broad range of industries, for example, surveillance, monitoring, transport, and warfare. The important thing is that the talent in the private and the public sectors is used constructively for a common cause that generates benefit for all stakeholders and the whole community. What makes a city or a country stable is when the majority of people have faith in a positive future. Trust and commitment and collaboration across sectors and businesses working smarter is not just an option, it's a necessity. In Odense, cobots are changing the faith that the citizens have in the future. They are generating new jobs, new thinking, and new partnerships. But growth doesn't have to be based on robots. The idea works with almost anything: drones, cannabis, medicine, research, AI, etc. All cities, I believe, have enormous growth potential, but it requires new ways of working together to start the process. To round off, first of all, work together on solving relevant problems. Make the best use of all the talent that is present both in the private and the public sector. Share knowledge, share vision. There are plenty of jobs for everyone. Second, don't be afraid of disruptive technologies. In Odense, cobots are designed to help you, or even to serve you drinks on Friday nights. Last but not at least, trust. You must recognize the mutual interest of public and private sectors and create framework in which cultural exchange and exchange of ideas can take place. I would like to leave you with a piece of simple advice for success in your relation with your stakeholders. It is done most elegantly in the words of Piet Hein, a Danish mathematician and inventor. He said, "If you want a trusting relationship, things you must accomplish to preserve it are first, to win each other's trust, and second, to deserve it." Thank you for your attention.